Wolfenstein The Old Blood is free right now.
Free!
Well, it's free on Prime Gaming until the 21st of April, as well as being permanently included in a PC and Xbox Game Pass. So I thought I had to give this game a go for you. If you're not familiar with Wolfenstein, it's a series of games that began all the way back in 1981, and for many years was made by the same studio that brought us Doom, ID Software. And unless it's this week you've chosen to take up gaming for the very first time, you'll certainly have heard of Doom. Wolfenstein received pretty positive reviews on launch, but that was all the way back in 2015. Some of you may not remember 2015 too well. I mean, most of the time I can't remember what I did last week, so let's have a quick refresher. 2015 was the year that iPhone 6s launched. That was the one that bent if you sat down with it in your pocket. The Force Awakened with the first of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, or the trilogy sequel, I don't know, you know, the new ones. Snapchat filters first became a thing. Yes, children had no interest in playing with their parents' phones prior to 2015. And also, ugly folks had a much harder time on Tinder. Lastly, in 2015, not only did we get that Drake meme, but we also got the cybernetically infused Black Ops 3, just 3 short years after the last COD of the golden era, Black Ops 2. RIP. Now we have some context to just how old this game is, let's get into the meat and bones of it. Set in an alternate history just after the Germans had instead won World War II, we take on the role of B.J. Blazkowicz, a burly secret agent with a healthy dislike of Nazis and all the gun skills to do plenty about it. A bit like Indiana Jones, the story taps into the Nazis' fascination with the occult and spiritual superweapons. Your mission is to go behind enemy lines, steal some stuff that will stop the Nazis' wicked plans and ultimately turn things in the favour of the Allied resistance. Visually, the game looks quite nice. The pictures are a little soft perhaps, masking what might otherwise not be quite as pretty to look at, just like one of those aesthetically challenged people on Tinder after 2015. But it doesn't look horrendously dated. There are some great looking scenes that have real epic scale to them. I like the colour and the lighting, and it all fit nicely with the World War II vibes. Areas are often dark and moody, but without it being gloomy or hard to see.
Sowas würde ich nicht mal meinem ärgsten Feind vorsetzen.
Sound-wise, the game is great. Whether that's a creepy violin soundtrack that's putting the hairs up on your neck as you try and stealthily navigate your way around a load of Nazi super troopers, or at other times it's the meaty sound of gunfire and explosions that give the action a real feel, a real weight. It was all good. When attempting to hunt you down as a pack, the enemies all shout at each other in German, which adds to the atmosphere nicely. Some of the main character voice actors have some interesting accents, shall we say, but they're charismatic and so do grab your attention in the short time you have with them.
Bloody hell. Where's your shirt, you handsome sod?
And it is often only a short time. It turns out it's a perilous journey working alongside old BJ fighting the Nazis. How does it play? Well, I'll be honest, I played the first mission and nearly uninstalled, but in the selfless pursuit of unearthing good gaming experiences, I soldiered on, and I'm so glad I did. What started out being pretty simplistic and a bit monotonous, if I'm completely honest, actually ended up really grabbing me. I think I'm just very accustomed to COD, and in a lot of ways I kind of needed to just mentally chill out more to get into this game. It's casual, you don't have to overthink it. The gunplay is great, and there's a super balance of stealth, basic puzzle solving and full charging hordes of enemies with an array of weapons so large that even the game pokes fun at itself in that respect. In one scene, BJ removes all the guns one by one and places them into a chest, but this process intentionally seems to go on forever. I played on a middle difficulty setting to offer a challenge, but without it being annoyingly difficult on a first playthrough. For me, dying too often on that first playthrough ruins the sort of flow of the story. But this felt about right for me as someone who's well accustomed to FPS games. I had to have a few attempts at some points, but the only part of the game that really took quite a few tries turned out to be the final boss. I'm not going to show you any footage here because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it felt pretty cool. It felt like a fitting end to the game. This is not a huge game, don't expect GTA levels of open world exploration, and do not expect 12 months of multiplayer. I mean, well, there isn't a multiplayer for a start. The game has an array of difficulty settings for replaythroughs though. But the story is kind of short. However, this lends itself to picking the thing up for a bit, perhaps completing one mission, and then putting it down again. I did blast through it all in a couple of sit-ins, but the way this game is, I think it would work well as something you can pick up casually when you've got a bit of free time and get straight back into it without having to remember the controls, let alone trying to remember what you were supposed to be doing in the game. If you're a completionist, there are a variety of collectibles you can search for in-game, as well as unlocking a series of challenges where you take on waves of enemies in a variety of scenes from around the game, aiming to beat your previous best score by being a little bit more lethal when mopping up the Nazis. In terms of bugs, crashes and glitches, I didn't encounter a single problem. Perhaps to be expected on a 10-year-old game, but any old issues have been patched long ago. And in terms of performance, again, it ran really well, as you'd expect, as I'm playing on a PC from about 8 years into the future, from after the time this game came out. So if you're running on an older spec PC or console, the game shouldn't pose a problem for you at all. But to round up the often overlooked metric in game reviews, satisfaction. When the dust had settled and all the Nazis had been taken care of, how did I feel about the experience? Well, I felt good. As mentioned, Wolfenstein is a long-standing game franchise, so you may particularly enjoy revisiting these characters if you're familiar with them already, but as a completely standalone experience, you can enjoy yourself too. There are secret levels hidden away, recreating the old games, which just added to the charm of this title. It was fairly simple, but without being boring. The somewhat linear gameplay offered an immersive experience that kept me on my toes and piqued my senses. And whilst it's a fairly superficial game, it is easy to forget that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Not every game needs to last 10,000 hours, forcing you to watch YouTube tutorials and lie awake at night while you think up strategies for your next win. I talked in a recent video about the whole point of gaming, escapism and fun, and Wolfenstein The Old Blood delivers both of these in bucket loads. If you don't have access to PC or Xbox Game Pass, or the Prime gaming offer has ended by the time you watch this, you can still get your hands on a copy of the game pretty cheap. And if I said to you, give me $10 and I'll make you happy for a day, you'd probably jump at the chance. And it is as simple as that, folks. So talking of enjoyment, I hope you've enjoyed this video, but that is where I must end things. I'd love to have you back here for the next one, but for now, I'm out.
Oh, that was a riot. Wesley spilled beer all over my bristles. Clumsy twit.